Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Jesse, and we are going to be painting. We're going to get to painting here pretty shortly. Just want to give everybody a little time to jump on. Looks like nobody's on just yet. All right. Looks like one person's on. Whoever's on here first, if you could give me a sound check, let me know that you can hear me. Just say, hey, Jesse, I can hear you just fine. Okay. In just a moment, we're going to start talking about all the supplies we're going to be using, etc., etc. Just waiting for that first comment. Let's see who wins the first comment award. Anita Erickson's the winner. What's happening, Anita? First comment of the session. Hey, Anita, could you give me a sound check? Can you hear me okay? Let me know that you can hear me, please. What's happening, Susan? Nancy Sanfilippo. What's happening, Nancy? All right, Linda Wright. Thank you very much. Debbie Boyle says loud and clear. Fantastic. All right, so we're a little bit early, just a few minutes. We're going to talk about the supplies we're going to be using, kind of the basics. Especially if you're new here, make sure you say hello in the comment section. All of you that are joining in, if you guys could let me know where you're joining me from, who you're painting with, whether you're celebrating a birthday or an anniversary, et cetera, put all that in the comment section. What's happening, Guadalupe from Oregon? How's it going? Welcome back. Awesome, Chris. Davenport, New York, Nancy. All right, Nancy, cool. And then Debbie Sanderson. Late here in the UK. What time is it, Debbie? What time is it out in the UK? I know it's pretty late. Susan from Missouri, Joplin, Missouri. Fantastic. Okay, good. Sounds like things are flowing nicely. Awesome. So giving you guys all a little time to jump on. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. I also want to just remind everyone, if you are new to the page, I do at least one, usually two events a week. Things have been really busy around here. I'm planning all kinds of stuff, behind the scenes stuff, getting ready to add new features and things like that to the Facebook page and to YouTube. So been pretty busy. Also, my in-person events are starting to pick up. So lots of customer contacts and all this other stuff, messaging back and forth about details. If you're not aware, I am in Southern California. I do in-person party events where I teach people in large groups how to paint. They're often called paint and sips or paint parties, but those are starting to pick up. Now that COVID is kind of starting to take a back seat, those are starting to open up. So I've been busy planning those on the weekends. That's not going to affect what we do here on Facebook or YouTube as far as the lives. I will continue to do these during the week as I have been, but my weekends are reserved for the in-person parties. Also, I do Zoom events. So if any of you are interested in any of that, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me here on Facebook Messenger page, or you can send me an email at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. Okay, if any of you are interested in any of that. So we've got about 2 minutes to get going. Anyway, what I was going to say, for those of you that are new here, if you want to check out what's coming soon, and I believe I've got 3 more events currently scheduled. I'll be adding more to the schedule, but I've got 3 events that are currently scheduled besides this one. If you go over to the events tab here on Painting with Jesse on Facebook, you'll see the schedule. Okay, and you'll get the details on each of the events if you're interested in joining. So lots of fun stuff here on Painting with Jesse. So if you haven't yet, please make sure you follow the page. If you're on YouTube, please like the page. So, you can stay up to date with everything that we're doing. We're about a minute before we get started. So again, everybody, if you could, make sure you're saying hello in the comments. Make sure you're letting me know where you are joining me from. Let's see, just checking really quickly here. Looks like we got 3 people on YouTube and about 74, 75 people on Facebook. I know so I did a pre-prep video. All right, 3 o'clock, official start time. How's it going, everybody? My name's Jesse. You are on my Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook. and on my YouTube. I know I've got a few of you on YouTube watching this event. For those of you that aren't aware, we're live streaming, right, to both Facebook and to YouTube. The nice thing about YouTube is that you can pause, back it up, forward whenever you want. So you can't do that on Facebook. Okay, on Facebook during a live stream, you have to watch, as we go along. In other words, you can't pause it and go back. So just so you guys are aware, if you're interested in watching this on YouTube where you're able to pause it and back it up, things like that, please feel free to jump over there. You still got a couple minutes before we actually got about a minute. We had about a minute before we actually get to talking about the event today. So again, YouTube allows you to do some things that Facebook does not. Okay. Anyhow, I did a pre-prep video for this. If you haven't seen that, it's important that you watch it unless you've already got a handle on how to make these impressionistic roses. Of course, some of you are going to change the flowers up. You don't have to make roses. You can make whatever you'd like on yours. But if you're interested in making flowers like these, there is a pre-prep video that I posted. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to post it until yesterday. I think it was yesterday morning or the night before. I struggled to post it. The last two times that I've tried to post a pre-recorded video, for some reason, I'm not sure what all the problems, why there's problems, but it looks like it loads. And then when I go back to look for it later, I realized that it didn't actually load. And I've got to attempt it a few times and eventually it goes through. But anyhow, I'm trying to get those pre-prep videos done sooner. So there's a lot more time for you to watch those before we do the live session. I understand, obviously if I post it yesterday or the day before, it doesn't give you a lot of time to catch up on those. However, what I want to say is this: if you have not yet, you do want to watch that because it'll give you time to work on the roses. Now, the other option would be that you paint along with us today. So the part where we get to the roses, I am going to kind of quickly go through how to make those. Maybe not quickly, but I won't be taking a lot of time with those. Maybe get to that point and then wait till we're done so you can go back and watch it over and over again as many times as you need to prep and practice so you can get those roses like these. These are impressionistic roses. They're not meant to be realistic, right? We're not looking for a lot of detail. We're not trying to make perfect roses. So there are different types of ways to make roses. This is just one, okay? Anyway, let's talk about what we're going to be using today as far as supplies. So I'm going to be painting on a canvas. 16 by 20 inch canvas is what I've got. Okay, whatever you have, right? You can paint on cardboard, right? Some cardboard surfaces, as long as it's that glossy material, for the most part, you could use that. But wood boards, canvas boards, multimedia paper, as long as it's thick enough, will handle acrylic paint. You also don't have to use acrylic paint. You could use markers, you could use crayons, colored pencils, watercolor, etc., etc., etc. But I am going to be painting on a canvas here. Okay, the brushes that I'll be using, I'll be going over those in here in just a little bit. Just a few brushes that I've got here. I'll talk about them in a moment. But what colors am I going to be using? Let's look over at the painting itself. So I'm going to be using light blue for the background, a purple, kind of almost not quite lavender, but a light purple for my umbrella. And then my flowers, I've got some white ones. The colors that I'll be using for the white flowers are white, a really, really light gray, and then a bit of a darker gray. That's the 3-color combo I'll be using for those roses. Again, if you haven't watched the pre-prep video and don't know what I'm talking about as far as how we made these roses, I use 3 colors or 3 shades of colors for each rose that you see on here. Okay, so for the white ones, it's white, a really light gray, and then a little bit of a darker gray. For the pink ones, I used white, light pink, and then a little bit of a darker pink. Okay. My yellow flowers, I used white, yellow, and then an orange. Again, we're going to talk about the roses more a little bit later, but those are the colors. And then, of course, I've got my red flowers, which I used light pink, kind of in between pink and red, and then red. So, or I could also use white, red, and pink for these red roses. More detail on that later. Don't stress out if you didn't catch all of that. It's not super, super important at the moment. But I've got all my colors laid out on the table next to me, along with my Starbucks drink. But I'm going to be using some white. I've got some black. Of course, the black, I'm going to be using that with the white to make gray. I've got a deep blue that I'm going to be mixing white with for the background color. Okay, I've also got a light blue here that I might throw in there. We'll see. Mix those three colors together to create my light blue background. Of course, I've got red. Okay, I've got pink. I've got the orange. Okay, I've got some green, purple. Did I mention yellow? I think I might have already mentioned yellow, but if not, there's our yellow. And then I've got a kind of a brownish color that I'll be mixing with some yellow to create the handle on the umbrella, okay? So as always, all of these colors are optional. You get to create your own, painting your own idea, right? If you want to get creative and change things up, please feel free to do so. I want you happy with your painting, so you get to use whatever colors you want. I'm not going to get mad at you if you decide to change the color schemes on this. Now, some of you may decide you're going to make all the same type of flower, or sorry, same color flower, right? Maybe you're going to have all pink, all white, all red, all yellow, or a mixture. One color that I don't have on here that would have been really nice, I think would have been a nice lavender rose, would have been pretty cool. So anyhow, we're going to get moving here pretty quickly. Paper towels, very important to always have a bunch of paper towels. I've got a water cup. Okay, I've got a little bit of water here in this cup. I'll be using this to rinse my brushes. And then I do have another bin here with some water in it. Once I rinse my brushes in the water cup, I simply grab them and lay them inside the water bin sideways like this so that they're at an angle. It keeps all the weight off of the bristles and they just last a little bit longer over the long run by doing it this way. Okay, so again, there's water in this guy. All I'm doing is once I rinse them off a little bit in my water cup, I transfer them over here in between steps. You do want to make sure that you have some water to put your brushes into so that in between steps, you put those brushes in there. You don't want your acrylic paint to dry on your brushes. Otherwise, you will end up ruining them. Okay? All right, everyone, here we go. Oh, what else are we going to need? Pencil with an eraser, because we are going to be doing some drawing. We're going to actually start with the drawing part of this. Okay, let me change the view on the video here so that way you have a better shot of what I'm doing. The way this works, I do a step over on my end, a step or two, kind of depends on the complexity of the step. I outline the step over here, and then I give you a little time to implement that step on your end. In between steps, I'll look over at the comments, answer questions, say hello, wish you happy birthday, happy anniversary for those of you that are celebrating something. So you'll see me in the video when I'm over looking at my laptop. I monitor the comments right here. So again, in between steps, I'll come over, take a look, and if you have questions, answers, or if you missed something, I'll go back to that. Okay? Now, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw the umbrella. Okay? Now, my canvas is standing so that it's longer vertically than it is wide. I don't know how you're laying yours out. That's something that you have, you decide for yourselves. But the purple part here at the bottom, not the tip of the umbrella, the top part, but here, this right here is probably about 3 inches from the bottom. We're going to get right into this drawing. Okay, and what we want to do is you want to make sure that you find a spot down here somewhere where you can leave enough space to be able to come up with your curved line for that umbrella. Okay, so somewhere on my 16 by 20 inch canvas, this is probably about 3.5 inches in from the edge. So just kind of gauge it. I'm going to do a little kind of angled line like this. Now, this is a very rough sketch style that I'm using here. Nothing super fancy or super precise. I don't want you guys stressing too much about this. I'm using light lines so that I can erase. Let me fix the angle on this. It's a little too steep. Once I find the angle, the right angle that I want, I'm going to go ahead and darken it up. The only reason why I'm darkening that up is so that you can see my pencil line a little bit easier. Keep your pencil lines as light as you can make them. If you're using chalk, chalk's a lot easier to work with because chalk's easy to erase. But for those of you that are using pencil, make sure your pencil lines are nice and light. Okay, so this right here, this line represents this right in here. Okay. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this line from right in here somewhere up, and it's going to end up somewhere up here. Okay, so I can even mark this off. I'll mark it off so that I know that this is going to connect to that. Okay, there's going to be a nice little kind of slightly curved line that comes up and connects over here. So we can start that. And again, nice and easy. For something like this, I can use my finger. I'll place my finger here on the canvas and I'll come up with it. Okay, or I can also use my non-painting hand. I'll put my hand right here on the easel, and it helps me, at least to start with, helps me support my hand once I get going. Again, rough sketch, light lines. Once you've got the shape right, once you have the line right, and I like to take a little step back and I'll look at my drawing from a distance just to make sure. Once you have it, you can come in and refine it a bit. Okay, all these extra sketch lines that I'm making aren't going to be necessary, so from time to time I'll just come in here with my eraser and just clean up the lines a little bit. Okay, so work on that. You got about a minute to get that in there, and then we're going to move on. What's happening, Elizabeth Trejo? Let's take a look at the comments section. See what we got. Hi, Judy Spicer. How's it going? Judy says, watching now, we'll paint later. Absolutely. Also, if you didn't catch, I don't think I mentioned it. This is being recorded. This live session is being recorded. It will be available immediately after the live session's over, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Okay. What's happening, Karen Irene from Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico's in the house. Fantastic. Miranda White. How's it going? Same thing. She's going to watch right now, and then we'll paint later, it sounds like. What's happening, Cindy Groom? Lots of you. Looks like you're deciding to watch right now and then paint later. Perfect. No worries. We're glad you're coming out and hanging out at least for a little bit. It's awesome that you stopped by. Okay, so here's the top of my umbrella, and maybe, if I was to gauge this, looks like this one's I went a little bit higher here. Not that big of a deal. I'm going to erase it just a little bit, just coming down a little bit on my 16 by 20 inch canvas. I probably have about 6 inches from the top to the bottom. That's not super, super important, so don't stress out too much. Now, what's the next step? Well, we're going to come over to the other side of our umbrella. We're going to bring that over here. Okay, so that's going to, and again, just like what I did over here where I marked it off, I'm going to come over maybe about right here is where that line's going to end up. So I'm just marking it off. And then, of course, we're going to connect those. Okay, now before I actually connect that, I'm going to bring it out a little bit to the side, and then we angle it back up. Again, very light sketch lines at first. Take a little step back, look at it from a distance, make sure we've got what we want. Just going to do some touch-ups. Some people hate to erase. Erasing is part of the process. So just make sure you're using it. Again, using nice light lines at the beginning so it's easy to correct them. I'm just going to make this curve a little bit more pronounced. There we go. I like that a little bit better. Again, once you have the lines that you want, you can refine them a little bit, make them a little bit darker. Don't go too heavy on your pencil lines. You want to make sure that that your lines are good. Let me take a little step back. Since I'm drawing from an angle, it makes it a little tricky to make sure. Makes it a little tricky to see what I've got from the side. So I'm just going to bring this in a little bit, bring this back up. It's all about making little corrections as we go. There we go. That's a little better. Most of this is actually, all of this is going to be covered up with paint. I just don't want these lines to be too dark because sometimes sometimes you will see dark lines coming through your paint when you're using pencil. If you're using chalk, chalk's really easy to cover up. When you paint over the chalk, usually that goes away right away. What's happening, Joan? How are you? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to bring this line. It's going to connect over here, right? These two lines are going to connect. Now, we want this really light because we're going to have flowers coming over the edge. So I'm just going to take this and bring it over. It's got a slight curvature. Notice I'm holding my pencil. Okay, again, nice little curve goes like that. And I know it's really, really light right now. Again, light lines make it easy to erase. Nice little curve. Okay, I don't want to make that too dark because we're going to have flowers sitting over the top. Okay, something like that. Now, I probably went a little too close to this edge with my umbrella, okay, with the little corner there. So it's not too bad, but just be aware. You want a little space on the edges, especially if you have a little flower kind of hanging out over there. Okay, but this is our edge for our umbrella. Now, once you've got this, you can start adding little circles, little kind of ovals for where you think you're going to have flowers. So, for example, I've got a big one that I'm going to put right in here. And I'm really light, again, really, really light in this case, especially where the flowers are concerned, because these light colors, you might see some of those pencil lines bleeding through. Now, before I actually continue with my flowers, I'm going to go ahead and make a nice little light line over the top from one side to the other. Curved. That kind of signifies the edge. It isn't the edge of my umbrella. It's the top edge. That's how high I want my flowers to go, right? So I'm going to have some flowers kind of popping up over the top of that. But I want a visual so that I know where my flowers are going to be. Again, this line that I just created is not the edge of my umbrella, of the other side of the umbrella. It's the top part, right up in there, of the edge of where the flowers are going to be. Okay, so now that I've got that, I can just kind of come in here. I'm just adding nice, round, almost ovalish circles, round circles. Is there any other kind? Don't know. Just a few of these different sizes. I can make some small ones. Okay, and again, I'm just overlapping a little bit, coming up above the edge on that line that I just created. And we got a little one right here. Okay, maybe that's going to overlap there. Big one, you can overlap your circles also, right? Like I just did here, I just overlapped there. We're just getting an idea of where these flowers are all going to live. Now up in here, we're going to have the handle. Somewhere up in here, we're going to have a handle coming out. So just be careful. Just kind of be mindful that you're going to have a handle sticking out somewhere in there. Okay, something like that. Let's see here. So few flowers there. Maybe I've got one right here. Who knows? Maybe some of you are going to have really large flowers. Some of you are going to have a bunch of small flowers. It really, really depends on you. Okay, so kind of go through, add your little flowers. Whoops. Let me give you a close-up. There's no exact on this. I'm going to make them a little bit darker so it's easier for you to see them. So I'm just taking my pencil, and again, this is darker than what I would normally do. I'm only making them darker so you can see them. Some of you may end up with 20 flowers, 30 flowers, 10 flowers. I don't know how big you're going to make them or how big your umbrella is, but don't stress too much about that. Okay, once you've put in your flowers, the general spots where your flowers are going to be, you can go ahead and add in, before you add any little flowers up on top or continue adding flowers, you want to put in your handle, which is basically looks like an upside down candy cane or a candy cane, right? Somewhere in the middle. So if this is the middle down here, I'm just going to kind of draw a line back, or imagine a line that goes back like this through here. Okay, you want to line it up, right? It's an umbrella. Watch your angle. So up in here somewhere. Just going to draw a big hook. Just drawing a candy cane over here. Let's see. And then we just give you a little close up in just a moment. Okay. Big hook. And it's going to come down and it's going to touch, looks like, gets lost underneath those flowers there. All right, take a couple of minutes on that. I've still got a few more little flowers to add up in here, kind of behind or right around the handle. Okay, so I'm up in here somewhere. We're gonna add a couple more flowers, or at least I have. Take a moment with that. Let's see what you guys got. Hope everybody's doing fantastically today, having an awesome day. I know I am, having really pretty weather out here in California today, Southern California. Really pretty April day. So woke up feeling good. As I started getting ready for my day, I was like, oh, what a pretty day. Looked out my window. I was like, pretty beautiful day. So hopefully wherever you are, you're having an awesome day. Maybe, enjoying the weather as well. Let's see. What's happening, Shane? Charlene, actually. I think it's Charlene. How's it going, Shane and Charlene? Ruth Davis, hello to you. Cynthia Martinez, my pleasure. Thank you for hanging out and being here, enjoying them. Susie Diaz, absolutely. Hey, Kay Tippin from Ireland. Welcome. Kay, glad to have you here today. Let's see. What else? All right. So got a couple minutes there. Actually, about 30 seconds. And then we're going to continue with our drawing part of this. Again, if you haven't watched the pre-prep on the roses, or you're a little nervous about the roses, paint for as long as you can, or follow along with everything but the roses. You'll go back and watch the pre-prep video, or even watch this session here today. You can go back and watch it a few times when we're talking about the roses and how to create them. Okay, so even if you haven't watched the pre-prep, or you're nervous about the roses because you're not, maybe you didn't get enough practice, etc., don't stress out. Paint along with everything else other than the roses. You can always add those later. Okay, but all right, let's continue. So maybe over here we got a little rose peeking out over the top on that edge. Maybe I got another one over here. Okay, let's see, where else? I think that's it for now. I'll decide once I start going in and adding my roses, actually painting them in, I'll decide if I need to add some more on my end. Okay, but let me take a little step back. Always take a step back and look at your painting from a distance. Make sure we've got everything, proportions and things like that are pretty good. In my case, I've got a little bit of, I'm going to have some water down in here. I used white to create these lines to make it look like either the umbrella is floating in some water, right? Like a little stream of water or a puddle, or it's laying in a puddle. But down in here somewhere, I'm just going to do it really lightly. So cross here. Just going to bring a nice light line, really light. You're not going to see it, and I'm not going to make it any darker than what I've got. I'll give it a little close. I'll give you a close up here in a moment. I'm adding this line so that I know where my water is going to be. Okay, so something like that. And if I make a mistake and I don't like that water level, I can always change it. So I took my pencil and just drew across my umbrella just like that. I'm going to have, if I was to come across here like this, all the way to the other side, the point of my umbrella would be about right in here. So I'm going to just go ahead and add a nice little point in here. Okay. Again, if I was to draw a line across, we'd have a little point, right? Those line up. So draw that. maybe put in your water line, and we are good to start painting. I'm not worried about the leaves just yet, the branches or anything like that. Those are all going to get added with paint. So what I'm going to start with, I could start with either the umbrella or the background. I'm actually going to go ahead and start with my background. Everyone gets to pick their own background color. I'm going to use a light blue, just like what I did on the original. I've got some dark phthalo blue here. I'm just going to bring it over. I'm using some mixed media paper today as my palette. Okay, so just putting some blue there. I'm going to grab a bunch of white. Oh, I said we were going to talk about brushes. I'll talk about the brushes here in just a moment. Okay, give me a sec. Just going to grab some of this white paint. I'll bring it over. To make a nice light blue, I'm going to need quite a bit of white paint. A lot more white paint than I've got blue. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Sometimes, I think I demonstrated it when we did the brushes tutorial, the brush tutorial a couple of weeks ago. I used a palette knife to mix my colors, okay, to mix them on. I don't do that very often. Actually, I've never, except for on my brushes tutorial, I've not used a palette knife to mix colors. But I could use my #1 large brush to mix the colors right on my mixed media paper, okay? And I'll demonstrate that here in just a moment. Demonstrate that. I will be using this to paint in the background, okay? This 1-inch flat brush is the largest brush in the group. I'm going to be using that for the background. Now, let me talk about the other brushes that I've got. Okay. 1-inch brush for my background. Okay, let me put that over to the side for now. The brush that I'm going to be using to make my roses is this 3/8 angular brush. Okay, this angle or angular brush has a nice little angle on the bristles. This is what we're going to be using to create these flowers. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can do it with a #7, #6, depends on how large your flowers are. #5 flat brush, similar technique. I'm not going to be demonstrating it with a flat brush, but you'll be using a similar technique with your flat brush. Okay, it might be a little trickier with this, but it will still work. Okay, so again, angled brush for the roses. Now I've got a filbert brush over here, a small filbert. You can use a 4 or a 5, 6. It just depends on how big your petals or your leaves are going to be. But I can use this to make my leaves. If you don't have one of these filberts, that's okay. The filbert's also good for making these skinny lines for the branches. All your little skinny lines can be made with this. Okay, again, if you don't have a filbert, don't worry about it. If you've got a small flat brush, #3, #4, #5, you're going to be okay. You can also use the angled brush for the leaves as well. Okay, angled brushes are really good for making leaves. Then I've got 2 small brushes. Okay, #3 and a #0 round brush. Okay, little tiny skinny things. I'm going to be using these to make details with. So those are the brushes. Now, the palette knife is optional only to be mixed it helps mix colors. So I can take, I don't want to mix all that blue in all at once. I'm going to take some of this white. I'll move it over to the side. I'm going to take a little bit of blue at a time. Okay, this is a really deep, strong blue, so a little bit makes a big difference. Okay, I just mix till I get the color that I want. I'm just looking for a nice light blue. Again, if you don't have a palette knife, don't worry about it. Use your large brush. Okay, but I want to make sure that I've got enough paint to cover my entire background. Okay, I don't want to have to remix paint. So if you're mixing colors like I am, make sure that you mix enough to cover your entire background so that you don't have to mix paint partway through. Having to mix colors can sometimes be really tricky. Now I'm going to take some of this light blue that I've already got. I'm just going to grab it. I'm running out of white paint. I want to save some paint for the roses, so I don't want to use it all up at once. Just going to put some of that light blue over there on my palette. Gonna grab a little bit more white. Luckily, I won't be needing a lot of white for the later steps. Just grabbing some more white. Okay, and then again, continue using my palette knife to mix those colors. So bring some of that white over, bring some of this light blue over. Mix, mix, mix. And it can be all even one. I can use this mixture to create one even color. In other words, all the same light blue. Or if I leave it a little bit swirly, where you can see some white and some blue coming through, that will work as well. Okay, whoops, got some thick paint and there's some dried out sections. Sometimes when you leave your paint bottles open for a little bit or over time, they'll start to catch some of the air that goes in there, dries out sections of your paint. So when you pour it out, you'll get little pieces of hardened paint. All right, there's my mixture. Again, nice light blue, all right in here, this color in here. Now I'm grabbing my big number 1 brush. I'm going to use this. First thing that I typically like to do is I like to outline everything. So I'm going to use this brush, kind of come through here. Whoops, got a little too much paint in there, so let me take some of that out before it drips. I'm just going to come through here and go around everything that I've made so far. Going right up and over, covering up my pencil lines. If your pencil lines are too dark, you're going to see them coming through your paint if you're using light paint. Once we paint the flowers and the umbrella, everything, once we start painting some more and overlapping some where the pencil lines are, you're going to be able to cover up most of the pencil lines, if not all of them. But you might, depending on how light your color is or how transparent your paint is, you might have some of those pencil lines coming through if you made them really light or really dark. For those of you that have been painting with me for a while, you'll see that oftentimes I'll use chalk instead to draw, because chalk is really, really nice to work with, easy to remove. Okay, so always a good alternative. All right, so I've outlined my umbrella, I've outlined the flowers and everything else. Now I can just start scooping up my paint. And for this painting, I'm going to use these kind of random brush strokes going, painting in different directions, left, right, up, down, crisscross pattern. Oops, got a little bit of extra blue in there. That's all right. Got a little spot of the phthalo blue coming through. And that still works. So let's take a little time. Now notice what I'm doing here. I'm working quickly. I'm not sitting there doing this, taking my time with it. You can if you want, right? Everybody paints at a different pace, but it's not super necessary, especially with your background. First layer of paint usually ends up being a little bit blotchy, a little bit transparent. We're not super worried about that on this step. Likely you'll need at least 2 layers of paint to get your background nice and even in color. But right now, all we're worried about on this first layer is that we cover everything, right? You don't want any white, the white of the canvas coming through. So cover everything. Spread your paint evenly as much as you can, but don't stress about it. We'll come back and do a second layer of paint over this later. The main thing right now is if you ended up mixing your color, is that you have enough to cover all of this in one layer. When we come back and do a second layer, if you need to remix some paint, you're fine. As long as you mix enough to do a complete second layer, you're going to be okay. The colors, the first and second layers don't have to match exactly. But everything that you use for each layer does have to be all the same. Unless you want a transition of colors, like let's say from one side of your painting to the other. Sometimes you'll see paintings where you have a transition, right? A transition of a, let's say, lighter to darker, light to dark. It just really depends. If you're going for that, then that's a little different. But if you want an even color throughout your background, you want to make sure that you have enough paint for one entire layer each time that you're going to add a layer. All right. And again, notice how I'm working quickly, holding my brush towards the back part. I'm not doing this. This is a little more of a tight way to paint. Don't need this for your background. Nice and loose. Maybe when you're coming around the edges of your roses, you want to grab it a little bit closer to the tip for better control. But other than that, you can use a nice loose grip and you're going to be fine. It's actually a little more fun to paint that way if you ask me. All right. Looks like I got most of my, let me come around real tight around my umbrella. There we go. Now what I like to do, I'm working on a canvas here, right? I've got a canvas. I like to paint my sides. Let me raise that. So I'll come in here. I'll do a little hard to see without coming across the front. But I'll paint my edge right all the way up. This is optional. There's no rule that says you have to do this. There we go. So left and right. So when I do the second layer of paint, I won't be painting my edges a second layer, at least not likely. These sides, for the most part, I just typically do in one layer. As long as the colors are similar, when I do the second layer, we're good to go. So now I'm doing the top. There we go. I don't do the bottom edge till the very, very end because I'm painting on a canvas. If I do that bottom edge underneath, it'll glue my canvas to the easel, and we don't want that. All right, take a little bit. Now here's what I do with my brush. I can swirl it around here. I'll be using this brush for the umbrella as well. So I'm just going to swirl it around my cup. Take out some of that, all that blue that I got in there. Doesn't have to be perfectly clean. It's a light blue. It's not going to make much of a difference if it mixes with some of my purple. But I do take my paper towel, squeeze out that extra paint. And then, like I said, in between steps, what I'll do is I'll take my brush and I'll lay it. Now, this wasn't the best idea. Plastic would have been better, or some type of stainless steel, rust-proof metal would be better. What I do is I'll rinse this out in between. When I'm done with this, I rinse it out and then I dry it out, but it does start to rust over time. Anyway, laying your brushes on their side like this keeps them from damaging the bristles over time. All right? All right, let's take a look at your comments. What do we got? Who do we got? Let's see. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Consuela Gudkova from Sydney. Yes, Consuela, I am absolutely recording this video. You will be able to watch it tomorrow, the next day, immediately after the live session's over. You can simply come over to Facebook or to my YouTube channel, and you'll find this tutorial right there. Okay, just want to remind everyone, I do have a pre-prep video that I loaded to both Facebook and YouTube where I teach you how to paint those roses. Okay, I teach you how to make those. You might want to get a little bit of practice in before you tackle it on the actual painting, okay? Christy, what's happening, Christy from North Carolina? Hi, Lisa. Okay, no worries. Yep, come on back. Come on back and practice with the recording. Okay. What's happening, Hannah? Welcome back, Hannah. Hannah's been following the page for the channel, page and channel. Let's say page because I think she's been on Facebook for a while. Hi, Hannah. You says how to do the flower. So, you really quickly. So again, I just want to let me clarify. So as soon as the live session's over, this is all being recorded. I am recording this. As soon as the live session's over, you can come back to Facebook or to YouTube and you'll find the pre-recorded session there. Okay. You'll be able to follow along with it from the beginning all the way, the entire process. What's cool about the recorded sessions is that you can take a break, right? You can paint for a while and come back the next day or later that evening or whatever. But even though I'm going to be going over how to paint these roses during this session, you'll likely want to watch the pre-prep video on how to do them that I posted, I think it was the day before yesterday, on Facebook and on YouTube, okay, where I specifically talk about how to create these roses. Like I said, I am going to be going over that during our session today, but it's not going to be in as much detail as I did on the recording or on the pre-prep, okay? Hi, Virginia. Awesome. You got it, you. My pleasure. Thank you for hanging out today, or at least for stopping by and checking us out. Hi, Lisa. What's happening, Lisa? Hopefully everything's awesome in New York. Hopefully you're doing great out there. Awesome, Christy, hanging out with the grandbaby Emery, watching. Fantastic, fantastic. But all right, so like I mentioned, likely for most of you, your background color, the color that we just added, is a little bit uneven, a little bit blotchy, okay? If you're new to acrylic painting, that is one of the most common things you'll see. The first layer of paint is usually like that. Doesn't matter what type of paint you're using, what brand. There are different consistencies of paint. There's paint that's more flowy. There's paint that's thicker bodied. And generally, the thicker bodied paint doesn't require as many layers. However, they all have some type of transparent nature to them. And so depending on the brand that you've chosen or the type of paint that you're using, if you have a blotchy background right now, even if you covered everything up, you see some differences, right? This is a little bit more transparent. Maybe it looks a little bit darker over here. Don't stress about that. Get your first layer down. We're going to move on. We're going to start adding paint to the umbrella and to the flowers. Then we're going to come back and do a second layer of paint over that background. That will help clean that up and make it less blotchy. Sometimes you need 3 layers. Okay, it just depends on the type of paint. And unfortunately, sometimes you do need 4 layers. But don't stress about that now. You'll see as you go along whether you need to add more layers or not. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and start painting in our the umbrella. We're going to add in a layer of paint on the umbrella. Before you do that, what you want to do, take a look at your flowers here on the edges. Some of the ones that are overlapping, you just want to make sure that you, actually, you know what? I take that back. We're not going to do the purple on the umbrella yet. I'm going to go through and start adding some paint to my flowers, and then we'll come in with the purple around them. I don't want to, even though on the original one, I think I did the umbrella first, and then I did the flowers. It just clicked that I'd rather do my flowers first so that we paint the edge of the umbrella around that. Okay, it'll just make it a little bit easier. So we're actually going to get right into those flowers. Okay, I'm going to start here pretty quickly. So I want you guys to kind of take a deep breath. This can be a little tricky. I don't want you guys to get frustrated, even if you've practiced. Hopefully you've got enough practice in where you feel comfortable enough to tackle this. If this is your first time trying it, or you're a little frustrated about the process, don't stress out. Watch what I'm doing. Okay. Maybe, maybe leave the flowers alone for now. Once we get to the umbrella, we're going to color, we're going to add in the umbrella. Join us for that. We're going to do the handle, and maybe we'll do the background together, and you can always tackle your flowers later. But if you're new or you're unsure as to what we're doing right now, take a look, and we're going to work on those flowers. So here's what I'm going to do. Each flower, each one of these flowers, right now I'm talking specifically about my red pinkish flowers, are going to combine 3 different colors. Okay, so I've got some white right here, I've got some pink in the center, and then I've got some red over here. Okay, white, I know the white is hard to see because of it's white against the canvas, but I've got some white, some pink, and some red. Now watch what I do here. We're going to get right into it. It'll make sense as I go along, and I'll explain it. Here's my angular brush. We're taking, again, that angled brush. Let me move this out of the way here. Otherwise, I'm going to put my plate right over it. I'm using an old plate here. I like to reuse my paint plates as my palette in this case. My angular brush. Okay. Tip. The long tip is pointing upwards. Okay. You'll see why in a moment. I'm going to grab some of my pink paint. I bring it over here like this. This is my main color for this flower. This is going to be my pinkish flower. Okay. Now I'm going to take the heel, the short side. I'm going to dip it into my red paint. Okay. Here we go. Grabbing some red paint. I'm going to take the tip, the long part, the toe. This is the toe. Bottom part is the heel. I grab some white, and I'm going to do this. Actually, I'm going to do it right over here. Okay, and I blend a little bit. So red's on the bottom, light, or the white on top, pink in the center. Let me do that again. I grab some pink, I bring it over. Grab some red, grab some white. The toe or the long part goes into the white. The heel or the short part goes into the red. Bring that over here. I can already see what colors are going to be in this flower. Okay, give you a little close-up. This is it right here. Now, I'm going to do a couple of these from a distance, and then I'm going to give you a little close-up. I'm going to bring the camera in closer. I'm going to start with this big flower right here. Actually, let me see if I can give you a close-up now. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we'll start right here. Again, tip, the toe, the white part on top, the heel, the short part on the bottom. Right, we'll go right here. Okay, I'm going to go like this. Okay, there's one. Creating some outside petals right now. I'm going to flip the brush over to the other side. I'm going to do this. Okay, and again, I'm going to give you guys a close-up in just a moment. Or maybe I'll get a close-up, a better close-up. I don't know yet. Just grab some more paint. I come over here, grab my brush. Again, grab a little bit of red, grab a little bit of white, just reloading on my brush. Okay, now I'm going to come here in the center. Now this flower is at an angle, right? It's not upright, it's at an angle. So here, take my brush here in the center. I'm going to overlap like that. Here on this side, I'm still holding the brush like this. Come underneath, come over. Okay, that is the center of my flower, the little section right in the middle of my flower. Okay, come over, grab some more paint. Right in here, I'm going to do a little petal. Actually, no, we're going to come over here. Right over here. Comes out. Now here I turn my brush a little bit so that the white part or the lighter part stays kind of turns with my brush, right? The petals are open like this. So we're looking at the top of the flower in this case, or that petal. Okay, I'm going to grab some more paint. Come over to this side. Maybe this little petal starts over here. Comes down. Again, I turn a little bit. Maybe not so much. And then I bring it in. Okay. We got these little openings on the sides. I want to fill this up with petals. right inside now. Now I'm going to bring my brush. Again, my white part, my tip, my toe is still pointing up. I'm going to come right in here. Bring this down. Scoop it in a little bit. That's a much tighter turn. I don't open it up as much. Over on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Right up in here. Little turn. Okay, like that. Now, obviously, I've got this big circle here around it that I made because I wanted that flower to be that large. I get to decide now, do I want to make that flower that large or do I change it? I'm going to go ahead and make it that large. I'm scooping up more paint. Come over, more of the pink. Going to grab some red. Don't stress if you're having a hard time with this. This is being recorded. Also, there's a pre-prep video. This is an impressionistic style of rose. There's realism, then there's impressionism. This is what you call impressionism. Okay, now I can make these petals a little bit larger. Maybe this petal that I made here earlier, maybe I want it bigger. Okay, maybe same thing over here. You know what, Jesse? I want this flower to be a little bit bigger. I don't want it that small. Okay, I wanted to cover up more area right in here. Okay. Notice I'm not going back and grabbing any more paint. I don't have to at the moment. Okay. Load up my brush again. Right in here. Maybe so I got this petal here and then that petal on the inside. Maybe I got a little petal right here. Okay, there we go. I'm liking this flower quite a bit. Now, I like that size. I don't want to make it any bigger, even though I've got my pencil lines all the way out here. When I paint my umbrella, my paint's going to come up right up to the edge of that flower. That's why I say let's do the flowers first. And we'll use that to then gauge where our edge for the umbrella is going to be. Now, this is the first layer of paint. I'm going to come back and touch this one up later. What I want to do is I'm going to do all of my pink flowers first. However many pink ones I want. Maybe they're all pink, pinkish red. Okay, you get to decide what all your colors are. But if you're going to be using different colors of flowers, you want to do all the same color flowers first. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to see what questions you guys have before I continue to the next ones. So again, I've got pink. This is my center color. I've got white. That's my light color. And then I've got some red, my dark color. Don't stress, folks. Take a breath. Relax. Maybe if you're unsure, you don't do this on your canvas right now or whatever it is you're painting this on. You can grab a piece of cardboard to practice on. Now I'm going to grab some red. I can bring it over, blend it in a little bit. I can decide that maybe this flower is going to have more red in it. So I grab more red on the heel and I just bring it over. Maybe it only has a little tiny bit of white where you can barely see it. Here on my plate, I'm already seeing what this flower is going to look like. This one's going to have a little bit more red and a lot less of the white. So you get to see on your plate or whatever you're using as your palette what that flower is going to look like. This one's a lot more red. So maybe I'm going to have a red one over here or over here. I know that's off camera, so we're going to do another one right up here. Okay. If I go over here right now, it's off camera. We'll go right here. Right there. Now this one, I do want to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm conscious of that. Again, starting with the top petals. Start with one on top. Okay, kind of do that. If I come over to this side, I just grab my brush, bring it over, angle it over to the other side. I can kind of overlap, connect a little bit. Here we go. Then over here, another one. Okay. Right in the center. Again, my center part. Right in the center. I overlap. I come down here, bring it under, back over. Connect. It creates almost like a cylinder, right? It's like a cylinder. Load up again. Maybe, do I want more red? Maybe I want more red in this one. A little bit of white in there. These flowers can be done with just 2 colors. You don't have to do 3 colors. The 3 colors just gives you a little bit more variation in between your the color transitions. But all right, let's continue. So earlier when I did this one, I went down here, right? Started making the petals over here. I don't have to. I could come right in here and do this. Okay, bring that down. That petal isn't as open. It's not as opened up. It's a little tighter to the center. Okay, maybe right here, this one, I have a little petal that just kind of comes in like this, nice and tight. Okay, a little petal that's nice and tight to the center. Over on this side, now we're going to start another one. Comes over like that. Come over to the other side, do the same thing. Now I want some petals that open up a little bit more. Load up on my paint. Maybe I need more of the center paint of the pink color. Bring that in there. Grab some more red. Bring that over. Little touch of white. Okay, now we're going to come right over here. This one I want to open up, so I turn the point as I bring the light part around. I want it to open up towards the bottom here. Before I do that, let me start one right here. Right here, it comes around like that. Let me load up again. Practice, practice, folks. I know this looks a little complicated, maybe a little intimidating if you're just watching. Don't stress out. Worst thing you can do is not do it. How about that? That's the worst thing you can do, is not go for it. Okay? So now I want these petals to come around down here. So I'm going to put a little petal right in between here. Now watch what I'll do here. Now I'm holding the brush at, it's not pointed up anymore. It's on its side. As I bring it around though, I turn it. Okay? Oops. There we go. And then maybe I just want to clean that up. I'll bring this around. There we go. All right. So there's a couple of flowers there. I could come in here with a brush and clean up those little areas of white that are peeking through. Or later when we add a little bit of detail, I'll come in with a small pointy brush and maybe take a little bit of red and just kind of touch those up in there. But I'm not worried about those. Oh, one thing I did not mention at the beginning of all this is that the original, I'm sure you guys all saw this on the event details, but the original has some glitter that I used, right? So a little bit of green on the leaves, red in here. I've got some more glitter that we're going to be adding. I do have a bunch of different glitter colors today. Not necessary, obviously, but for those of you that are going to be interested in adding some glitter, I do have some different glitter colors here that we'll be using on that stuff. So let me look at your questions or comments. Like I said, we're going to continue adding more flowers here in just a moment. But all right, you got it, Don. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Hi, Penny. How's it going? How are you, Penny? Penny's in the house. J.R. Bennett made it. Fantastic. What's up, Baricello? No worries. You can do it later. A lot of people painting later. Fantastic. Okay. Cheryl Gonzalez says, mine look more like flower power. That's all right, Cheryl. That's all right. So in a moment, we're going to continue. Okay, we're going to continue. Now, again, these are not completely done. They're close. They're close. It's just a couple of little details we'll be adding to these, and then they'll be done. Okay, but we're going to do all the pink ones at the same time, all of the gray ones at the same time, gray, white, all of the yellow, orange ones at the same time. Okay? Again, these are impressionistic roses. So Elisa says, I'm doing this as a watercolor today to see how it comes out. Awesome. Don't forget, folks, please make sure you send me pictures of your paintings when you're all done. Here on Painting with Jesse, send them to me via Messenger. Simply, upload them to the message, send them over. I'd love to see your work, and then I'll be sharing those as a batch with everyone. Once I have a bunch of your paintings, I like to share those so that everyone gets to see how everyone else did. I'm going to go ahead and back up the view on the camera here. Zoom out. We're going to continue. Same process that I just used. Let's see, where should we go? I'm going to do another red one, another red pink one. We're going to go right up here. Okay. Same brush. Now, if you have different size angular brushes, you can practice this same process with different size brushes. If you're going to make some smaller, I'm using the same one. I didn't change it. But if you're going to make smaller flowers, you can use smaller angular brushes. If you're going to use large brushes, then, or you want larger flowers, you can use a larger angle brush. All right, here we go. Red, got some of that pink, moved it over, put some red on my heel, brought that over, a little bit of white right there. Maybe this one's going to have a little bit more white. I'm going to have more of a white highlight on this one. So I'm going to scoop up more white. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Let's see, right here. Okay, so same process. Okay, so we're going to start petals up on top. There's one, another one, and then another one. We go to the center, and you're going to gauge it. Do you need to grab more paint? Up to you. Do you need to grab more white or more red? Up to you. Again, when you blend a little bit on your palette, you'll be able to see what color, primarily, what colors your rose are going to be. So right here in the center. Up, over, back under, connect, create the cylinder. Create that little rounded center. Okay, now I'm going to come around over to the other side. Come around, scoop this around. Same thing, maybe over here we got a petal that's popped up over there. Scoop up some more paint, maybe a little bit more white. Again, this one's going to have more white highlights. You come down here, remember down towards the bottom, if your flower, your petals are a little bit more open, you want to turn the brush with, as you're scooping around, you want to turn it. Turn your brush a bit. So here we go. There we go. Whoops, a little too much. That's okay. Right over here, we got another one that's peeking out. Okay. Just going to go through here and tighten these up a little bit on the inside. Maybe we got one peeking up over the top. And so on and so forth. I'm just going to move on. Next one. When I do the other colors, I'll go back in and zoom in. Okay. So we're going to do a couple more of these red ones. Just going to move kind of quickly. Red pinkish ones. Let's see. We'll make a little one over here. This one's smallish. Once you get the hang of it, you can move pretty quickly through these. Some of them are going to require less petals than others. Again, depending on how big or how large you want them to be. Just to show you guys really quickly with my angle brush. So this was the first one that we did, or with this one, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was this one. With my angle brush, now I can take a little bit of red, get dark red. I'm just going to come in here, look on the inside here. There's my center. I could also use this angle brush to add some detail. Just taking a little bit of that red in between where some of these petals, deep areas where, down inside, you can kind of just grab some of these darker lines and just slightly come in there and put those in between the petals. And that gives a little bit of extra depth. We're also going to be able to do that with the glitter. Okay, glitter will also help us do that. So, all right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 four of these red flowers. Let's see, maybe that's it, or maybe we do one more. I'm gonna do one more right in here. With this one, I'm gonna go a lot lighter with my pink. Let's see. Hold on one second. Here's what I'm going to do for that one. Whoops, and I just brushed paint on my put some paint on my laptop. It's all right. Always happens. I'll clean that later. So I'm taking my brush, I'm cleaning it up a little bit. I've already got my paint, some of my paint colors already laid out. So for this one, this is going to be a much lighter pink flower all the way around. This one these had more reddish in them. This one's going to be a lighter pink. I've got this really light pink here, a deeper pink for my dark color, and white again for my bright color. So what do? Grab some of this, bring it over. Okay. Heal the darker pink. Again, you get to decide the colors, what's going to be the dominant color in your flower. A little bit of white by watching what it looks like here on the plate or your palette. Now I'm using a plate from another plate from my colors. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see here. We're going to put this one. We're going to put this one right here. You know what? Hold on. Let me get a little closer to my canvas first off. And we're gonna go right over here. Yeah, why not? Right here. Okay. Here's the outside. Here's my center. Okay. Come around the outside. Come around like this. Now watch, this one's a little different. I don't open it up. I don't connect those as much. I leave a little opening between there. Why? Because I'm gonna have some petals that come in here. Let's see, we'll start it right here. This one turns around like that. I'm gonna grab some paint, bring it around from in there like that. Maybe in here we got another petal like that. Scooping up some more paint. Right over here. Now, these bottom ones, I turn my brush. Okay, kind of like that. Over here, I turn my brush. Now I get to decide where else do I want to add some petals. Maybe I'm going to come in here. There's another one there. This one's a little harder to see because the colors are so light. But later, I'll come in and do some little accents. But we're going to add the little light side up, light part on the inside. Maybe I come in and add more white to it, etc. But okay, I think that's enough of the pink flowers for now. I'm going to start adding some of the yellow orange and some of the gray ones. Let's get a little close up in here now. Just cleaning up my brush, taking it, dipping it into my water cup and doing the swirly action. Cleaning it up, right? Taking out as much of that pink color that I've got in there. Now, what other colors am I going to use? Glad you asked. Okay. Yellow center, white tip, orange is going to be the deepest color in here. Okay, so what do? Tip facing upwards, or the toe facing upwards. Just going to grab some of my paint, bring it over. Okay, I'm going to dip the heel in the dark part, the toe in the light part. Okay, there we go. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay. We're going to go right here. So how do we do it? Now this flower is still wet, so I can overlap right over that, but I'm going to smear some of that. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And some of these flowers are going to be overlapping, right? So as we're moving around and this one's dry. Actually, you know, I'm going to come over here. This one's almost completely, we're going to go here. All this right here is almost completely dry. So that I don't smear paint, I'm going to start right here on top. So we got our little center. I'm just going to come up like that. This is going to be a pretty color combination. Okay. Okay, center. Just loading up on this yellow a little bit more. Grabbing some of the orange, grabbing some of the white. And here we go. Right here at the bottom, overlap my flower a bit. Maybe we want this flower because it's in the foreground to overlap over the top of that. So we can clean that up a little, take that off, and then later come back and just add a little bit more of that pink color over the top so that this flower overlaps on that one. I hope that makes sense. So the flowers that are in the foreground are going to be overlapping on the ones in the back. So, and that doesn't have to be exactly the case in every single situation, right? Maybe this flower can overlap this one a little bit, but it'll look a little bit more correct if the flowers that are on the front are overlapping the flowers towards the back. So maybe the best way to do this would be to start on the ones in the back and work your way forward so that the ones in the front are the ones you do last. So from here, I could go back here and start these and start moving forward with my flowers. Okay. So just grabbing a little bit more. This one's done for now. I'll come back and refine that a little bit later. Just going to make another one here. Maybe we're going to come take some of this. And we're going to go, again, I'd like to put one here, but this flower is still wet. So you know what? Let me take my blow dryer and cleaning this up. Not cleaning it up, drying it up. All right, that should be dry enough. Could be a little bit more dry, but we're good. All right, here we go. Center part. And you can go over the same area, right? Let's say we don't have enough white in there. Grab a little more white and I'll go over that same area again. Come around, flips under. I can bring it back the other way, like this. Okay, I can repeatedly go over the same area to get the colors that I want. Okay, so right over here, come back around. Over here, comes around. As I start to come around to the front, I start to turn my brush a little bit, but especially down at the bottom, that brush needs to turn quite a bit to get the light side on the bottom part of the flower. From this perspective, that's how that would work. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here like this, turn it around. Okay, flower is going to be a little bigger. Go around like this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start picking it up a little bit. You guys get the idea. Oh, I like that one. I like it. If I wanted to, I could grab some white wherever I want there to be a lighter section. I can even make the paint a little bit thicker. Scoop up a little extra. That extra thick paint gives it a little bit more dimension. Actually gives it a bit of a 3D effect. Okay, there we go. I'm liking this one. Okay, for now, that does it. Let's go to the next yellow flower. I'm going to zoom out a bit. All right. All right. Hopefully you guys are staying with me here. Not getting frustrated again. Don't stress out. Simply practice and you're going to be okay. Even myself, right? I have to practice a little bit. I haven't done them for a while. I have to go, oh yeah, how was that? How did I make those flowers? I got to practice a bit. Practice is part of it. Don't stress too much about it. Just go for it. Here we go. Here's another one. A little faster. Keep in mind your angle, right? As you're moving across your umbrella, the ones on this side maybe point this way a bit more and they kind of angle over. Just watch your perspective for each flower so they look like they belong. All right. Let's take a little bit more white here. Just going to touch up down here a little bit. Okay. Do we need any more yellow flowers? I think so. One more right over here. Maybe this one's going to be more white though. So in this case, I'm going to take some of this white. I'm going to grab more of this white and I'm actually going to blend it with the entire part down in here. So I want to lighten everything up a little. And I'm going to take some white, just plain white, bring it up. So this is going to be, while it's still white, while it's still yellow, it's just going to be a lighter yellow color. And I will take this and put it right here, right next to our other yellow flower. Center. Come around, come under. Okay, now that one's not quite as noticeable as the others, but we'll come back. I'll come back and add some touch-ups to that. Okay, what else? We're gonna need some white ones or the gray ones. I'm gonna add one here. I didn't draw the section for this one or the area for this one, but I'm gonna put a little small one in there. To fill in gaps, either I can make these larger, right? I can make this one bigger or this one bigger, or I can come in and add little tiny ones in between. Or we can also use leaves to cover up areas where there's spaces in between flowers. Like over here, where I had a little gap in between there, I put in a little leaf. Okay, over here I must add a little gap in between those flowers, and I added a leaf in there as well. Okay. Okay. One more yellow flower over here and we're done with the yellows. Looks like a good spot to me. Yellow. A little bit of orange. A little bit of white. Oops, need more white. And here we go. This one's going to be a lot smaller, so everything's going to be a little tighter. Got to watch the perspective. This one doesn't need as many petals because small. Okay. Now I can take a little bit of orange again, just to kind of, so you guys all get the idea. The little accents is what starts to make these pop a little bit more. Typically, I wouldn't add this part till later, just so you guys, oh, and I have a little area in here that needs a little petal. There we go. Okay. Let's continue. Carolyn says that one looks like a Mardi Gras rose. It does, right? Laz Page from England. How's it going? Yeah, folks, practice makes perfect. Don't stress yourselves out. Simply enjoy the process. If your roses don't look so much like roses right now, keep practicing. Sometimes you got to step away, come back, do it again, try slightly different technique than maybe different brush size. I mentioned earlier that you could, instead of using one of these angular brushes, you could use one, a flat brush. Whoops, what did I do with my plate that I just, here it is. No, it is not. That you could use different, you could use a flat brush instead of an angled brush. Who knows, maybe a flat brush will work better for you. Same thing, you would just, what we're doing with the flat brush is what you'll do or sorry, what we're doing with the angle brush is what you'll do with your with a flat brush. But yeah, you just have to practice little by little by little, and then show them to other people around you. Like somebody's nearby, go, hey, what do you think of this? They might tell you, oh yeah, that's a good looking rose. Just because yours doesn't look exactly like the ones I'm making doesn't mean that it doesn't look like a rose to somebody. Okay, so I'm going to take some white here. I'm going to make, actually I made it earlier, but my paint's dried out. So I'm going to take a little bit of white, just add it there. I'm making the white flowers. I'm going to take some of this white and bring it over here. Just going to take a little tiny touch of black. Don't need much. Just want a really light gray right here in the center. Okay, so this is going to be my white. These are my white flowers. Then I'm going to take a little bit of black, a little more black so that I have a darker gray on the bottom. There we go. I think that's a good color. Just going to clean up my brush a little. So here we go. Main color here in the center. Just going to scoop that up, bring it over. Okay. My heel color, the dark color. And then my white. Okay. Now this is mostly going to look a little bit more black in here, I think. There we go. All right, that's good color. Okay, let's see. Close up. Here we go. Where are we going to go with this one? Let's see. We're going to go right here. Oh, can't go there. Let me pull away. Right there. I can do these. I can do those last. Even though they're way back there, I can make it work. So right here in the center, over the top, I mean top petals. Here in the middle. Overlap a little bit. Come back underneath. Load back up. Okay. Over here, going to come around. Remember, as we start down here towards the bottom, we want to start turning our brush a bit. Maybe we got one right here that turns out. Load up. Okay, so here I've got too much gray in those. No big deal. I just grab some more white. Don't grab any more color of the other color. And there we go. That fixed that. Okay, there we go. That'll work. And then maybe you got some petals that I just overlapped that. Use this petal to overlap that flower there. Let's go to the next one. All right. Right up here. The ones in the back don't require as much attention as the ones in the front. Okay. Want to accent anything? What do? I take a little bit of white. All right, next one. I need a little more black there. do we want another white one? Right here. Remember your perspective. All right. Now let's play a little bit. Maybe this next one is a combination of white and a little touch of pink. Okay, so let's say I've got my mixture for my gray ones in here, but I want to add a little bit of pink now, just a touch of pink. So whoops, there goes my paper towel. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of my pink here, just a touch. I'm going to come over here and just, we can do this with purple. That would be a really cool color. And we're going to go, let's see, we'll go right here. Want a little bit more pink in that. Scooped up more pink. But I can go right over the same areas. Just because I did, doesn't mean that once I put them down, I have to leave them as they are. I can go in there and change some things. Okay. All right. Next one, right over here. A little bit more pink. Actually, this one's going to have a little bit more red. And do it with a little bit of red in there. All right. And again, if I wanted to take, when we do the little detail work later, okay, we can start doing stuff like that. Nothing to it. Nothing crazy about this. Okay, what else do we got? Let's add, you know what? I want a yellow-orange one up here, back there somewhere. Back over to my, now this is a light, sorry, I actually did my order incorrectly. So center or middle color, light or dark color underneath. I'm going to grab some white from over here. This one's going to have more white. Here we go. Okay. I'll do one over here also. Once you get the hang of it, you just start to go. But if at any point you need to add some highlights or change things up, you can just take, like in this case, just grab a little more white Yeah, I'll come back and touch those up. Let's see over here. We got one over here, got one over here. Maybe we'll do some more white ones. Okay. White mixed with yellow. How about that? Since I have a little bit of yellow in my brush. So, center gray. Light or white color. Okay. That one needs a little bit more of a transition between my colors, so I'm just going to make some more of that. I'm just playing a little bit, experimenting a little bit with the colors. Trying to see if I can get a little bit of a yellow gray in there. Okay. So again, just because I've put some brush strokes down doesn't mean that I can't go back over them. Okay, there we go. And then some of these are going to require some small touch-ups in a little bit. So I'm just going to make one more back here, a little small one back. I'm going to make that one pink. There's my center, my light color. And my dark. Right up here. Oh, I'm off. I'm off camera. Let's bring that back. So up here in this little corner. Okay. All right. So as this is drying, we're going to start working on the colors for the umbrella. Everyone gets to pick their color. What's happening, Gloria Marie? It's okay if you're a little late. Practice, practice, everyone. Again, just practice. Have a good time with it. There's no reason to stress about it. I know we all want to, make something nice that everyone's going to go, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But it comes with practice. Okay, so just practice. All you need is a little bit of practice. Try to mimic me as best as you can, and you're going to get something similar. It doesn't have to be exact like what I've got, right? As long as you're close, you're going to be okay. So some of these still need some touch-ups. Some of these need some leaves and stuff around the edges, but I'm going to take some of this deep purple that I've got right here. I'm going to mix it with some white to create the color for my umbrella. And don't forget, we still need a second layer over the background color. So to remove some of that blotchiness. So just taking some white, going to mix some white and purple together here. Okay, there we go. Taking my number 1 or my 1-inch flat brush. Going to mix this a little bit. Now this color doesn't have to be perfectly blended. If you can see on the original, we got some varying shades in there. I'll explain those in just a bit. So just taking my brush here, grabbing some of this purple and some of this white. I want it kind of streaky. In other words, I don't want it to be one perfectly solid color. Once I've got my paint, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go around my flowers first. Okay, we're going to come around like that. Outline the umbrella. Staying on the inside of our lines, but also making sure that I'm overlapping my pencil lines. I don't want those pencil lines in the light blue area. Okay, once we've done that, you guys see these little lines in the middle, right, where those metal parts, the wire parts of the umbrella are. We're not worried about those for now. What I am going to do is this. Here's the center. Here's the center of my umbrella. I'm going to use my brush here, skinny part of my brush. I flatten out my brush by pressing it down into my plate. I do that, making that nice and skinny. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to go like this. Okay, like that. I'll do the same thing over here in the center. This one could be slightly curved either direction. Doesn't really matter too much. Slight little curve. I'm just adding these here, whoops, right to the center. I'm adding these so I can have a visual. And it also will help me with my brush strokes. Okay, there we go. Once you've got that, you can start doing this. Now I'm painting, I'm using kind of angled brush strokes, but I'm staying on the inside of these little segments. Okay. Now the order doesn't really matter too much. Some of you can choose to make nice, long, smooth brush strokes following the curvature of your umbrella. That'll give you a nice, smooth finish. Not necessarily going for that right now. Not on this painting anyway. I'm not. You could. But yeah, if I wanted a nice, smooth finish, I would do this. Long brush strokes. Long, converging towards the middle. But I'm not worried about that. I kind of like the way this one, again, more of an impressionistic look. That's what I'm going for with this entire painting. So I'm using the blotchiness in the paint to work in my favor. So we're going to do all of this. We're going to add leaves. We're going to do a second layer of paint on the background. We're actually going to do the second layer of paint on the background. Then we're going to add the leaves, and then we're going to color in the handle and the tip. We're going to add in the leaves. Sorry, did I already say the leaves? We're going to go in there and add detail to the flowers, and then last thing we're going to be doing is adding the water down there. Not everybody's going to want water. I already know, but we'll be adding the little water down there at the end. So just going through and hugging all the flowers nice and tight. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of this darker purple, not the darker purple, but my purple mixture, and just kind of come over and do this a little bit. So I have a darker mixture. And then I'm just going to do this. You want to start adding in a darker color, this darker purple, your wires. Little wire lines right there inside the umbrella, so you wouldn't see the wire, but you'd see where they go, little indentations. Okay, just gonna take a little bit of this purple and then come around my edges, kind of shadows below my flowers. Now we are gonna add the second layer of paint to our umbrella. Maybe not every single bit of it, but some parts of it. Down here towards the front, the very, very tip. And this will probably work best when we come back, once this is a little bit dry. Just adding a little bit of this hint of this darker purple. The shadow side. Okay. For now, that's good enough. So we'll work on that for just a bit. We'll come in and add more shadowing and stuff later. More of the stuff here on top and on the bottom. Now, if you guys noticed, again, I was using short, kind of choppy brush strokes the entire way through. I'm just kind of doing stuff like that. There's just a little bit of paint on the tip of the bristles there. I'm just, in other words, I'm not going for a really smooth finish. The original doesn't have any, doesn't have a smooth finish, and I'm not going for that on this new one, okay? So work on that for a little bit. I know that was a lot to cover kind of quickly, right, in one step, so work on that. Now, if I was going to make an adjustment on my painting, and if I was painting this for myself or I was painting it as a commission, I would make this adjustment, which would be, I would take this is a little bit more of a curved edge, which, I mean, it still works, but I could, if I wanted for symmetry's sake, I would take this and curve it a little bit more so it matches this side. I'm not worried about that, but like I said, let's say I was doing this as a commission piece for somebody. That's what I would do. I would, just for the sake of symmetry, even though I think it probably doesn't need it. But I would come in here and just curve this out a little bit more. I would just use the paint. I'd bring the purple paint in here and curve it out, so it matches this one a little bit more closely. Okay, so take a couple minutes on that. We're going to move on to the next step. Again, don't stress too much about this. We are going to come back and add another layer over it. Do a complete layer of paint and then move on. If you need to, take a smaller brush. Where did I leave all my brushes? I seem to have misplaced them. They're right here. Take a smaller brush, maybe a little flat brush, and get into those little, just so you make sure you're hugging your flowers nice and tight. Come in here with one of these smaller ones and tighten up the edges around the flowers. Watch my brush strokes here. This is one of those paintings where I enjoy seeing brush strokes on. Again, just my taste. I don't want a super smooth finish. If I wanted a nice smooth finish, I would take a blending brush, or I even could use this brush here and just really lightly, barely touch the paint, and slowly that would blend everything away. But all right, let's do another layer of blue on our background. I still have a bunch of blue from the original layer right here, but I'm going to mix a little bit more. It's going to clean up my number one brush, cleaning that up, cleaning that up. If you don't need a second layer, work on your flowers, work on your umbrella. You be the judge in your case. Do you need a second layer? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, if you do not, don't worry about it. So I've just got more of my white paint right here still. I've got a bunch of blue paint. Gonna mix the two together. Again, gonna grab some a little more white. Here's what I can do here also. I can dilute this paint a little bit. I take my brush, dip it into my water cup. Okay, bring some of that water over a little bit. Dip my brush in my water cup, bring a couple of drops of water. When I do this, now my paint's gonna have a little bit more of a flow. It's actually also going to extend how much coverage I can make with this amount by adding that extra water. Now I'm going to come around then, and when you're outlining your flowers, you might want to switch over to a smaller brush, right? Now that the flowers are in place, maybe now it's a little more important that you're careful. Don't forget, you can also make your brush skinnier by pressing it up against your palette, making the tip nice and skinny like that, narrow. Come around. For those of you with kiddos, I know last month or so I haven't had as many kids paintings as I've had in the past. But again, lots going on behind the scenes. So I haven't had as much time to, I try to do 2 sessions a week, one for more of an older audience like this one, and then at least one for a younger audience, more kid-centric. But I will be adding more of those here pretty soon. I'm going to go back to my 2 painting a week schedule. So if you're wondering, for those of you that have been painting for a while with me going, hey, what happened to all the kids' paintings that you used to have? Those are coming back. And if you're new and you're looking for some of the old sessions that we've done on here, we've done a whole bunch of them, closing in on 100. Well, maybe it's more like 90. I can't remember right now, but got a bunch of old sessions that you can go back and watch. Under the live tab on the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook, you'll find all of them. And I've got about half of them on the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't yet, please make sure you follow the page, both Facebook and on YouTube. Helps with the Facebook algorithm. Also, when you go to share your paintings to social media, if you guys could tag Painting with Jesse, that would be fantastic. Share the page. Let people know that there's this guy that does these cool painting sessions. Makes it relatively easy to follow along. That would be awesome. All right, so just going through here and adding my second layer of paint. Again, you guys notice I'm using my brush strokes where I'm painting in different directions, short, kind of choppy. I'm not looking for a super smooth background finish. Oh, I forgot. We're going to be adding rain, at least little raindrops on mine. Everything's optional. You don't have to do it exactly like I make mine. I'm just here to guide you along, creating something kind of similar. But for those of you that want to get creative and change things up, you already know. Do your thing. But definitely, whatever you do, please share with me. Take a picture of your painting, preferably with you holding it, or if you're with a group, take a picture of your painting group, and then share the painting with me under Painting with Jesse here on Facebook. And or you can send them to me via Gmail, paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. All right, there's my background. So take a couple of minutes on that. I'm going to be looking at your comments here for any questions, concerns, issues, etc., etc. Just want to remind everybody, I will be adding a second layer of paint to my umbrella here so that cleans it up a little, makes it a little bit more even. And then we are going to come in here and add leaves and stuff to the inside. No worries, Charlene. You're still on the flowers. That's all right. It's all right. All right, Elisa, no worries. Come on back and finish when you get a chance. My roses look like nothing. Charlene says my roses look nothing like anything that lives on planet Earth. Oh, too funny. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Now, while you guys are working on your background, for those of you that are interested in helping support the page, I have a virtual tip jar. Here are the details to my virtual tip jar. I have a Venmo under Jesse Mendivil at Painting with Jesse, all one word. I've got a PayPal under paypal.me/Painting with Jesse, all one word. And then I also have a Zelle, 951-217-2237, 951-217-2237. If you guys can help support the page that way, it's greatly appreciated. Anyhow, there is that info right there. If you happen to use my Venmo or my PayPal, you'll see my picture at the top. Okay? If you don't see my picture, it's not me. But all right. And then, of course, you can always help support the page by following, liking, sharing, all of that good stuff. One more minute. Actually, minute and a half. What do you guys think? That background. I know the background can be a little tricky. Or not so much tricky. It just takes a little time. Marianne Richardson says, been practicing flowers while I watch. Good idea. Good way to do it. Then once you've got them, jump on in and do the whole thing. What's happening, Annie Torres? Just going through and looking at the comments, seeing if I've missed anything. Looks like I've got everybody. Anyhow, I think that these pre-prep videos, when I do these, it's helpful for those of you that get a chance to watch it. But I think at the same time, for those of you that can't watch the pre-prep or don't have a chance to watch pre-prep, I know it's a little harder to join in on the live, obviously, if you haven't watched the pre-prep. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the pre-preps? Do you not like the pre-preps? Do you prefer to do it all in one sitting? The only problem with something that's complex like these roses, the problem is that trying to get them all under the live, doing them all, all in one shot, it can be a little bit overwhelming. I think the pre-prep, for those of you that take advantage of them, it helps with the prep, right? It helps you be a little bit more relaxed when we do the live. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you leave a comment. That would be awesome if you guys could leave a comment for me on YouTube. It helps with the algorithm. Okay, I would really appreciate that. Facebook too, but YouTube, I think we got like about almost 34,000 followers here on Facebook, and YouTube, I think we're a little over 3,000. YouTube's seems a little harder to grow on, but Facebook also I've been doing these lives on Facebook for almost a year now, whereas on YouTube I just recently started. But if you guys both Facebook and YouTube, leave a comment, say something, say, hey Jesse, I had Cheerios for breakfast this morning. Say something to me, whatever. Carolyn says, I like the pre-preps. Okay, good. Okay, good. You got it. I'm not sure if it's Junior or J.R. Bennett. I think it's Junior. We'll go with Junior. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and paint the handle and the tip. I'm just using a mixture of yellow. Your handle could be whatever color you'd like. Just kind of find a little spot here on my paper palette. Just going to take a little bit of yellow to put some down. I mean, it could be just yellow. It could be brown. It could be black. I have this metallic folk art rose gold paint here. And I know I didn't list this under the comments section or the event details page. Just use brown. I decided last minute to use that color. Use brown, brown and yellow to get kind of that. I used a little bit of brown, a little bit of yellow for that mixture there, for that color. So a little bit of rose gold, a little bit of yellow. I'm using my filbert brush here. You could use, so I'll show you my brush here in a second for those of you that aren't familiar with what a filbert brush looks like. But if you don't have a filbert, you can use a flat. So a little filbert brush, well, it doesn't have to be little, it could be a large filbert brush, has a rounded, it's flat when you look at it from the top, narrow, but it's got a rounded head. The top of it is rounded. Makes it nice to stay, like do curved objects like this. When I turn around the corner here, like that, not this corner, but when I go around this curve, that curved edge makes it a little easier to stay inside my lines. But if you don't have one of these, again, don't stress. Use a flat. You'll be all right. But I'm just going to come in here like this, come around, come around. With my little mixture here. Normally I like to outline everything first, but this is a number 4. If you have a 5 or a 6 or an 8 or a 4 or a 3, you're going to be okay. Again, a little bit of brown and a little bit of yellow will get you to the color similar to this. That's what I used over there. This just happens to be a rose gold and yellow mixture. Okay, there we go. Then the little tip down here, still using the same brush. I just pressed the brush against the paper, making the head nice and narrow. Now I can make skinny lines with it. There we go. Shirley Lockwood says, hello from Buffalo, New York. I do like the pre-preps. Fantastic. Margie says, love your ideas. When you said rain, I already had painted it. Cool, no worries. Sorry, no roses. I did my take on the flowers. Absolutely. Whatever you feel like you want to do with your flower, if you don't want to use roses, if you're painting daisies or, I don't know, violets, daffodils. What else is out there? Calla lilies, sunflowers, whatever you feel like whatever type of flowers you feel like putting on your painting, please feel free to do so. Change it up. Heidi Lou Ham says, gorgeous, Jesse. I will do this another day. Heidi from the East Coast. All right, Heidi. Sounds fantastic. Okay, let's continue now. So before I start adding, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of the detail on the flowers. Again, there isn't a lot to this. Pretty much what I've got here is almost exactly what I've already got over here. With the addition, I just kind of go through and I add the little centers, the dark centers. Maybe some of them require some touching up like these. Okay, and then of course the glitter makes a really big difference. I can add highlights, I can add low lights. We'll start with the red flowers first. Okay, I'm going to grab one of my round brushes, round number 3. Got a little pointy guy right here. Whoops, let me go ahead and change the view. There we go. Round number 3. So my round flower, my red flowers, just going to dip some of this, the tip right into that red. And I'm just going to come in here and I just start to add these little centers on all my red flowers. All at once. Okay. And then maybe my pink ones here too. All right. Now watch what I can do here. I'll take some of this red and I will look at my flowers and go, okay, are there any flowers that I want to outline, highlight, accent? So for example, here were let me give you guys a close up. Let me zoom in. Zoom in. We can create shadows with this. And I know I already showed you guys how to do some of this earlier, but we can add some shadows with this. Like here, where the petals overlap. Right in here. The bottom of the petal, right? Imagine where the bottom of the petal, where it connects to the flower down below. Anywhere that you feel requires a little bit of a shadow, you can just go in there and add that with the dark color of whatever flower you're working with. Down in here, for example. And you can do this fairly quickly. You don't need to spend a lot of time with this. Okay, and here. Here, for example. Over here on this flower. Whoops. Forgot. Instead of zooming back out, I'm just gonna do this. So for example, here. So down in here, a little bit there. Just little tiny accents. Okay. Grab some more paint. This one over here, I got to be careful with that one. It's a smaller flower. Where the petals kind of overlap. These are impressionistic flowers. There's not a whole lot of detail going on. Okay. This one here is a pink flower, so maybe I'll take a little bit of pink. Again, the darkest color in your flower. And I'll come in here. And I'll do this. So here, here, subtle. Okay. Once I've done that, I'll take a light color now, my white. Same brush, clean it a little. Now I'm going to do the highlight parts. Got some white over here. Just going to grab some white. And then anywhere on my flowers that I want to lighten up, here for example, just go through and add highlights wherever you feel you need to add a little bit of an accent. Okay, here on the pink. Just going to where the outside of the petals would be, just a little bit of this color. Okay. So again, we do that to all the flowers, all the pink ones, all the red ones. And then since I'm working with the white right now, I can go through and add it to all of my white flowers. Here. Here. It's got a little bit of pink paint in there. It's all right. Looks kind of cool, I think. And again, I'm just using this to make little touch-ups. Little highlights. Still got a little bit of pink in there. Didn't clean up my brush very well, but that's all right. I'm kind of liking the way that looks. Here on this pink flower. Pink gray. Okay. So all I did was I just jumped because I was using the white for my red flowers. I jumped to the highlights on my white flowers. And then I can do the same thing with all my yellow ones, right? Just because all the highlights are white, or the majority of them are in white, for all the flowers, I can just do them all at once. I don't have to go back and forth between dark and light, dark and light, dark and light. I can just go through and do all my white ones all at once. And if they don't need it, they don't need it. The flowers in the background aren't quite as important because they're so far back. You don't get to see all the detail on them. So just play with it a bit and decide what needs a highlight, what doesn't. So centers, take a little bit of black here. Now I did do a little tiny bit of gray on some of my dark ones there, but this is where your flowers start to pop. And you're adding the little tiny details. Watch this. This flower that was kind of lost back there, that little center, gave it a little bit of life because of your eyes pick up on it. Okay. Now with those, I'm just adding little tiny dots. Just a choice I decided. I decided to do that just now. Okay. So centers. Now here I've got another flower that's kind of a pink white. I can take a mixture of pink and black. Play with your colors a bit. There's no exact, it's got to be this one way. Have fun with it. Okay. My yellow flowers back here, I can grab some orange. Again, we're talking about the centers now, right? Just gonna grab some of this bright orange and these little tiny touches make a really big difference. Okay. So same thing, since I've got my orange color out, I'm gonna make a little bit of an orange-yellow mixture to add some orange highlights at some of those yellow flowers. My paint's a little thick, so I'd take my brush, dip in my water, make it flow a little bit more. Still using my number 3 brush, haven't switched that out. Okay. And we'll use this. Imagine again where the dark parts of the flower are. Okay. Take a little step back from time to time, look at your handiwork. This one right here needs to be defined. That one's a little too, looks a little too undone. Looks like it's halfway done. So I'm gonna go ahead and redo that one. Let's see. I'm gonna make that, it's a gray color, or white color should be. I'm going to, should I change it? Maybe I'll change it. A little bit of white. Bring that over. I'll make my middle color. Well, too dark for it to be a middle color on a white flower. So that's going to be my dark color right there. Here's my light. Okay, and then we'll make the middle color. All right. Light color right there. Middle color, almost identical. Make that a little darker. And then my dark color. So here, grab my white and my dark. Here we go. Okay, better. I want more. I want the white to stand out a little bit more, so I'm just going to grab some more white just on the toe. There we go. Okay, much better. Use my angular brush. There we go. I like that. Thank you, Penny. Awesome, Lizzie. What's up, Adriana? Awesome, Heidi. From Kansas. Fantastic. Okay, So if you start to get painting fatigue or you're struggling, always take a little step back, work on something else. Like right now, we're going to move into the leaves. Work on some of the leaves, some of these little areas in between flowers. Like here, I could add a little flower. I can add it once this is all dry. I can come in here and add a big flower in there to cover that up. Another flower in between there. It depends on how full you want your painting to be. Here, I'm probably going to add another flower because that's too big of a gap to fill in with leaves, but I could maybe work it in there with just a bunch of leaves. I don't think I'm going to like the way that looks. So I'm going to make a big flower in here, and I'm going to use primarily red for that one because I want it to stand out. So this is going to be my dark color right here. Remember 3 colors, right? I'm going to grab a little bit of pink for my center color. Should have added that color down there first, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so red. Get a little bit of white. Tiny, tiny bit of white. Too much white. It's all right. Here we go. Right here. And overlap. Ooh, I like the colors on this one. Right down the center. Underneath. Look, this one looks almost like a candy cane. Cool. So this little flower here is kind of popping out and kind of is overpowering this one. Okay, the one right below it. That's okay. I can either leave it like that or I can simply clean this one up a little bit so that those petals at the top on this one actually overlap on that one that I just made. But that's how you would add an extra little flower. So what I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and clean that up a little. So a little bit, this one's mostly pink, lots of white. Okay, so okay, and I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to do this. There we go. Now we recovered the prominence of this flower. Now, as long as this one's overlapping that one, this one's in the foreground. Makes it a little more natural. So if I wanted to, I could come and add another one here. Wherever you have a big gap, you would just do the same thing. Okay, clean it up a little bit. But let's talk about those leaves. Let's get into those leaves. I'm going to grab some green on my messy palette over here. Whoops. That green doesn't want to come out. Left the lid open a little too long and that hole got plugged up. It's okay. A little bit of green, don't need a lot. Now you could mix some yellow in with your green. You could mix some brown in with your green. Up to you. This is a bit of a lighter green than what I used on the original. Now I'm going to make some of these with my angular brush. Okay, clean it up a little bit. Just dipping my green right in there. You can also draw these out first if you want. If it's easier for you to draw out your leaves, you can. But using the angular brush, the toe, the long side pointing up, we're gonna have a leaf right here. Watch what I can do. Nice and skinny. I could leave it like that, and it'll look like one of those. Or I could use the brush to do this. Okay. I got another one next to it. Very versatile brush. This angular brush. Maybe we got another couple over here. A little small one there. It's smaller. Okay. You could also use a filbert for those. The rounded head brush. Okay, I've got number 4 here. Again, if you got a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or a 3, I use the skinny part of the brush. Press down on the brush like this, making that top part nice and skinny. Right up here on top, I'm going to bring this down. Okay, see those long ones? Okay, maybe we can make a few of those. The filbert, put my finger right on an area that's already dry. Barely touch the brush. If I want to make leaves, there's one. Maybe there's a leaf right in here. Okay, I would just have to come in here and make another layer over the top so it covers all that red that's popping out. Maybe we got a leaf down here and another one here. Same thing, this would require a couple of coats to make that green really stand out. See another one right here. Still working with my filbert brush. Skinny little kind of branch that comes out like this. Little stem, branch. And then maybe it's got a little, whoops, got some white in there. It's all right. Okay, still using that filbert. If I want darker ones, I can mix a brown in with the paint. I can mix some even a little bit of blue. So let's say, for example, I wanted a darker green leaf. A little bit of blue, maybe. So I'll take some of this rose gold. It's almost brown. I could add yellow in there to make them brighter instead of darker. We'll come in here and we got one that's sticking out. Whoops, let me back it up. We're way off. Well, maybe not way off, but over here. My leaves are all covered in glitter on the original. So we'll add some of that here in a bit. A little more of this dark blue to make some darker ones. Too much blue. That's too much blue. It's a blue leaf, which I guess is kind of cool, but don't know if there's any roses out there with blue leaves. But what the heck? This is art. We can do whatever we want. All right. So add as many leaves as you'd like. Look at your little gaps. Like in here, I've got this gap. I'm just going to come in here. This rose has a leaf that comes out this way. Okay. Maybe over here we got another one. It goes like that. You don't have to overlap your flowers. Maybe the leaf comes out and it gets lost between, your other flowers next to it. Instead of a leaf, you can do this. You can come over here. Let's see. Let's find a spot. Maybe right in here, you got a little stem that comes out like that, or over here, another one. Okay, kind of like that. Got one right there. Little leaf. So you go throughout doing these. Let's see. Let's make some light ones. We're going to take some yellow, some green, mix the two together. Look at this messy palette. Okay, nice green. Maybe I can come in here and some of the ones I've already done, lighten them up a little bit. Okay, or we got another one right here. I like that color. Okay, so just go around adding your leaves, having some fun with it. We are getting there. Georgine. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Penny. All right. So, a couple of things. The next step, we're going to go in there and add another layer of paint on this. Then I'm going to add glitter, and we're pretty much done. Okay. I could go in there and clean these little areas up in between my roses. I would just add more leaves or simply create larger profiles for some of these roses just on the edges. For example, what do I mean by that? Let's say that I'm trying to fill in a gap but it doesn't look right if I add another leaf in that spot. Might make it too cluttered, or it might look almost like I'm trying to cover up. It's obvious I'm trying to cover up an area where there's a gap. Let's find a spot right here. There's a little spot right there. There's a little spot right in between those two flowers. Okay, what I could do, I would pick. Okay, so right here in between these flowers, I would simply mix this color of rose, and I'm going to grab some of that paint for this rose, right? And I'm just going to make that petal larger. I could do the same thing with this one. This one would then be larger so that it covers up those areas. I could do the same thing with the yellow one. Take the yellow and just kind of come in here. Be careful of which ones you want to overlap, right? So ideally in this section here, I would take this red one, bring it up a bit. Okay, if I wanted to overlap this one on that one, then I would just, this petal there, I would take my pink and my red and go in here like this, just that petal, or just this petal right there. But this one here, this big flower here, I could use a big petal starting from here, coming around, and it would cover up that gap. Down here were these white ones, and here would be a good spot for a leaf. That would be a good spot for a leaf. That would work. So angle brush, or maybe a little stem. Just grab my angle brush and I'll do something like, you know what? Let's do a leaf right there. What the heck? Why not? Okay, there we go. Okay, but yeah, you want to be strategic about it. Just go through, you'd look at it, and then make adjustments as needed. Okay, filling in gaps, slightly making some of these rose petals a little bit larger to fill in those spaces, just so it looks, like a nice full bunch of flowers in your umbrella. But okay, actually we're going to go ahead and do the next layer of that purple over the umbrella. Okay, I've still got some purple. Actually, I don't have much purple left. A little more. This purple is really thick, pretty thick-bodied paint, or full-bodied paint. I'm going to go back to my 1-inch brush here. Going to take some white. Don't need a lot of paint for this step. Just going to mix the two together. My color doesn't have to match exactly the shade on the original. I just want to mix it enough. Do a nice, and I don't even have to do a second layer on everything. Kind of swirly. Now what I can do is right in here, pick your spots. Like for me, this is where I want this purple. Notice my brush strokes are a little bit longer now. I'm just smoothing things out just a bit. Little bit. I'm also using this lighter paint to leave some of these the dark lines that I created for where the wires are. Just kind of going, I'm not painting over those. I want those to stand out a bit. There we go. Over here. You can notice that there's a little bit of a transition. I got some darker shaded areas underneath where the flowers kind of pop over the edge, little shadows underneath, a little bit, and then down here towards the bottom of the umbrella, you got a darker side. Choppy little brush strokes, different directions. Okay, kind of like that. Now I'm going to take some of the dark purple, just a little bit, don't need a whole lot. Okay, I'm just grabbing a little there on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to come in and do this. A little here, a little there. Take your time. Take your time with this. If you're getting a little fatigued, take a little break. Come back and finish with the recorded session. I know for a lot of us, it's a lot to cover all at once, especially if you're newer to painting. I know some of you guys can do marathon paintings, paint a long time. I know. Then others of us are, well, we got to take a little break, Jesse. You're trying to exhaust me. Got to work tomorrow. But yeah, take your time. There we go, something like that. Take a little step back from time to time. Look at your painting from a bit of a distance. All right. All right. The very last thing we're going to do here in just a moment, we're going to add the little water lines and then, of course, the glitter. Actually, you know what? We're going to do the water last and the raindrops. What I want to do is I want to go into that glitter now. Okay. So won't take long for me to do. I'm not going to do every single flower or every single petal just yet. But I've got some green. I've got some red here. Okay. A couple of types of glitter. And then I've also got some purple. I'm not going to use the purple, but the purple would look fantastic on the umbrella. Okay. If you guys are interested in finding out what glitter types, etc., if you guys want recommendations on the glitter, let me know. Send me a message. But the brand is Glitterific. I picked these up at Hobby Lobby. I can also order them online. Amazon has them. Lots of different places has this glitter. So I'm going to take my flat brush. Actually, no. We're going to take my angle brush, my little angular brush. Going to go back to that. What did I do with you? Oh, didn't put my big brush back into my, put all of them back into my bin over there so they don't get damaged. Okay. Just using a different brush, different clean angular brush. So that, no, this is the one I was using. It's a little wet. It's got a little paint in it. Sorry, Jesse's getting a little tired right now. Getting a little distracted. But here's my brush. I can dip right into my glitter. Okay. But I'm going to bring some of this over and bring it over to my plate. This is thick glitter. When you use glitter, you want your brush to be free of any wet paint. You also want to apply the glitter to all your dry areas first. You don't want to add glitter to any areas that are wet because that glitter and the paint will mix and your glitter won't be as shiny. So I'm just going through and being careful where I add which ones I add this to first. But this glitter makes a really big difference. Again, I'm not going to do every leaf. Okay, I'm just going to find a few spots. Okay. If I do that to all of my leaves, it's going to look really nice. Just like the original. Okay, the original has a bunch of glitter on the leaves. Okay, what I want to do right now is just really quickly show you how using glitter you can add some of those little accents on the flowers. I'm only going to do the red. We're running out of time here. I don't want to keep you guys too long. But same thing, clean up the brush a little bit. Just going to dip my glitter right into that paint. And then I can come in here as long as my flowers are dry. What I'll do is I'm to the darker parts of the flowers. And I'm just adding these little red accents. But this is really cool. I mentioned I got purple and I have pearl glitter, gold glitter. I could use the pearl or crystal is what they call it to do the light areas. I could use the gold for my yellow flowers. You just go through and all of your little darker parts of your flowers, you just add a little bit of glitter, and it makes a big difference. Okay, real big difference. They really start to stand out. Trying to see if you guys can get a good shot of that stuff, of those. But once you do that to all of your painting, it really makes it stand out. Really, really pops. Okay, so there's the glitter part. Let's talk about the water. We got raindrops, and we've got water down below. So I'm going to use my round brush, my filbert. Let's use the filbert for that. Okay, if you don't have a filbert, then you'll use a flat brush. You could also use a little liner brush, little skinny round thing, right? Any one of these brushes here, I've got a 0 round brush right there that I might use. We'll see. I've got my filbert, the rounded head brush up, a little rounded edge up on top. And then I've got a flat brush, might use for some of this water, some of the raindrops and the water. So we need some white paint. Let's see, do I still have some over here before I go? Yep, still already have some. Don't need to go grab any more. So we're gonna take my filbert. Just gonna grab some of this white paint that's on the plate here. I'll transfer it over to cleaner surface right in here. Now this is thick paint. I want to make really thin lines with it. So before I actually start adding paint right to the canvas, I'm going to take my brush, I dip it in my water cup, bring some of that water over. I'll do that a couple of times. Tip my brush in my water cup. When I do that a couple of times, transferring some of that water into the paint, I blend it really nicely. Okay, now I press down on the plate. That makes my point on the bristles really skinny. Starting over here, we had that line in pencil before, right? I can't see it anymore. It's okay. I covered it up. I'm just going to come across. Okay, I'm just going to come across all the way. This is the surface of my water. And I want to make sure it's pretty straight across, right? I don't want this off angle, so just carefully come across. Okay. There's the surface. If I need to adjust it, I can. Again, I'm using the very narrow, skinny tip of the bristles. Now I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to do this. By pressing down, either with varying pressure, when I press down on that brush, I can make some skinny lines like this where I barely touch it, or I can make some thicker ones by pressing down a little bit more. Most of the lines that I made on the original are nice and thin. So I work quickly through here. Take your time with it if you need to. I've got a little raindrops in there too, like little, so make these little circles. A little raindrop right in the center. A little drop of water that came down and landed in front of the. Now you might be better suited with a small round brush for that if you're going to do those little circles. Let me give you a close up. So like here, let's say you got a raindrop landed over here. Here's a little center for the raindrop. Got to draw little circles around it. Little water waves. Just a few of those. Okay. Let's see that again. Maybe we got a little raindrop over here. Here's the center. A few little waves around it. Okay. As many of those as you'd like. Maybe it's really rainy in your painting. Lots of rain coming down, or maybe it's just sprinkling. Who knows? Up to you. Okay. Here we go. Let's continue with our water here. Nice and easy. A little bit of a randomness to this, but I am primarily brushing to the sides. My brush strokes are going sideways, and then occasionally I start doing this where I bring them down. Some of the lines overlap a little. Again, either the umbrella is sitting in a puddle of water or it's floating on a little stream. And then if you dip the brush right into the paint without mixing any water in it, you can just make some really bright ones that stand out. Just make a few of them here and there. All right, raindrops. Kind of same process. Your brush, and I'm still using the filbert, flattened edge. You can use your finger to kind of control your hand. And you just start adding all these little raindrops. Wherever you need a raindrop, put a little raindrop in there. If all this is dry, my finger, I press it right up against the canvas. Helps me control the pressure. Again, you could also use a flat brush for this. Or the little round zero. I mentioned the round zero, right? So this little guy here. Same process. Use my hand. Depending on the size of your brush, you can make some really skinny lines with this. What I like to do is I'll take my brush and I'll dip it into the paint and I'll spin it. By spinning it, that point gets nice and skinny. Now I'm able to come in here. Little tiny skinny lines. Okay. But all right. That pretty much, we're about 5 minutes away from ending the video, unless I'm forgetting something. Those of you that have been painting with me for a while know that sometimes I'll forget little details here and there. A couple of things you would do. You would, once you're done, let's say you got your glitter on there. If you're adding glitter to it, you got your water and your raindrops and everything else. You would want to sign your piece. So you take a color, a contrasting color, or sometimes it's a color that you used in the painting. Sign it somewhere down at the bottom. Usually, most artists sign their paintings on one of the corners. I like to use my last name. Then I mentioned, earlier when we were talking about painting the edges, I would flip this over, paint that edge to match, let it dry for a bit, and it's done. Whoops, knocking stuff over. Okay. But anyway, questions, comments. You could have, Charlene is asking, can you put glitter in the white streaks of water? Absolutely. You could take, so what I recommend, the glitter color that I recommend for that, it's this crystal pearl color. This one's Deco Art Craft Twinkles. I know it doesn't look like it's all covered up with some paint there on the front. But you could use something like this. Also, a light blue would work. A blue would work for glitter on the water droplets. But there's purples, like this really neat purple from Glitterific. You could use it on parts of your umbrella. The glitter really goes a long ways, makes a really nice difference, makes everything pop. You can use it to cover any areas you don't necessarily like too much because you know, maybe you smudge something. You can use that to really make things stand out and look a lot nicer. Okay. Forgot the leaves on the top stem by the edge. Let's see. Oh, the big ones right here? Oh, that's okay. We don't have to add those. We could. Talking about these guys right here? Yeah, we could do it. Let's add those. What the heck? Why not? So for that, you could take, again, an angle brush or a little round brush or a filbert. Brushes are pretty versatile. Some people prefer to make leaves and stuff with only one brush. I'm using the filbert here. The filbert allows you to make pointy, triangular leaves or round leaves. But the filberts, angular brushes, round brushes, and flat brushes are all good for making leaves. Okay. Anyhow, that is that. I forgot to say hello earlier. What's happening, Lillian? How's it going, Lillian, out in Canada? Always good to see you on here, Lillian. You got it, Sue. Diane Howard says, I need to know how to draw the picture. So as soon as this video is over, again, this is being recorded. As soon as the live session's over, I press the save button and you can find the recorded session, this exact session that we did today, on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can go back to that. We drew everything at the beginning. Okay, so if you missed any of that, go to that. What brand of zero brush do you have? So this is a really basic zero. Nothing fancy with this one. This one is one of my, actually no, the one that I'm using today is, give me a second. I'll show you the package that it came in. Give me 1 second. One moment. So I've told you guys a million times, maybe not a million times, but I always talk about brushes, the importance of the quality of your brushes. And there's a variety of different brushes out there, you know, types, sizes, etc. But one of the most important things you want to do is get a good quality brush that'll make your job a lot easier. Now, this is a really basic type of brush. It won't last me very long. Okay, this is a very cheap brush, but when you first start to use these, they're really good because they're really small brushes. This is a Crafter's Collection set that I picked up quite a long time ago. I was in a pinch. I needed to pick up some brushes, and I grabbed some of these. I was actually I was running to an event that I was doing a painting at, and didn't have time to stop by my studio and pick up my good brushes. So but they come in handy. If these come in handy for practice sessions or to learn the craft. They won't last you very long though. These will quickly start to fall apart. But when you're first using them, actually this is the first time I use this one today. Okay, but I've got a whole bunch of brushes here in my studio. Sometimes I'll give my good brushes a break. Often I'll give my good brushes a break. Okay. Mashi 2002 says, thank you. I learned a lot and it was enjoyable time. My pleasure, Mashi. Thank you for being here. Please send the name. Do me a favor, Liliana. Send me a message here on Facebook and I'll send you that information. Okay. Send me a message on Facebook or you can send it to my Gmail. Otherwise, I won't remember. Okay. I don't remember to send it to you. You got it, Lillian? Cheryl, you got it. My pleasure. Okay, Tippin. You're very welcome. And then, folks, please do not forget, if you're new to the page, make sure you follow. Lots of fun stuff coming up over the year, over the month, and over the year. So make sure you guys are sticking around. You'll get notifications if you follow the page. Also, if you're on YouTube, please leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. It helps the page grow. So please leave a comment, a like, especially if you're on YouTube. But I would appreciate it on both. It looks like my phone, which I'm using to record over there, I thought it was plugged in. It's running a little low. Still good though. Still good though. And then also, don't forget, for those of you that are interested in helping support the page, I do have a virtual tip jar. I'm about to bring up the information. Bam, there it is at the bottom of the screen. Venmo, I've got a Venmo, I've got a PayPal, and I've got a Zelle. Venmo and PayPal are both under Painting with Jesse. All one word. Got to drink some of my Starbucks. Probably not the best thing because of the caffeine, but it works. Anyhow, if you are interested in helping support the page through the virtual tip jar, you'll find the information there at the bottom of the screen. My Zelle, I do have a Zelle. It's just the phone number, 951-217-2237. Please do not forget to send me pictures of your masterpieces. Send me pictures here on Painting with Jesse on Facebook by Messenger. If you're on YouTube and would like to share, and I really would love for all of you to share your pictures, send them to me at my Gmail, paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. Okay? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I will see you all very soon. Next week is the next event. I don't remember the day. My brain doesn't work so well with memory things. So go check out the event tab here on Painting with Jesse, and you'll see the next event. I believe it's next Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know, but go check that out. And we've got, like I said, I've got 3 more scheduled events officially for the month. I'll probably be adding at least 1 more, maybe 2, but we will see. Okay. But all right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Got to press the end broadcast button, and bam. Not bam.